makes the makes the makes the makes the makes the makes the makes this so ugly is that it reveals a truth that is clearly broadly held within Republican circles. That white men, by definition, when they have a job, earned it and deserve it. And anybody but a white man is a DEI hire, meaning it was handed to them without them deserving it or without them earning it. George W. Bush became president because his father was president. John F. Kennedy, in many ways, his political rise was because his father paid for it. Paid for a film to be made about his service in World War II to make him more popular. Donald Trump became president because he was on The Apprentice. Mm-hmm. This is some tea, Joy. This is tea is hot. The tea is hot. But the reality is that in order for if Vice President Kamala Harris becomes president, she will become president because she was a DA who then got elected to be the Attorney General in the largest state in the country, which could be its own country, and where that was not done because the state of California is overwhelmingly black. It's only about 6% black. So she was elected by the entire broad spectrum, one of the most diverse states in the country, as Attorney General, and then got elected to the United States Senate, meaning that she couldn't possibly be handed the jobs that she had because she had to earn not a few votes, but millions of votes. She didn't get elected senator in Wyoming, where there are more cows than human beings. And so by definition, she's earned every position. But to have even women come forward and try to make salacious accusations about her and essentially undermine her and all of the voters who supported her. Yeah. She was selected vice president as one of the most qualified people to ever take that office, much more so than Dan Quayle. I don't even remember what he did to become vice president. So the reality is they are revealing, not just to us on this panel, but to every suburban voter in Philadelphia, to every woman who's ever worked at a job where they felt passed over for a position that a man received or got the job and then had a question. And I'm not just talking about black women. I'm talking about women in general. I'm talking about anyone who has ever felt slighted. You can talk about working class people who they're based on class. They're told that they don't deserve to be there. Every person has a story about that moment when you were told you don't belong here. All they're doing is turning those voters into voters for Kamala Harris. And so just as a matter of strategy, it's absolutely stupid. It's also deeply offensive.
Welcome to the National Newspaper Publicists Association's Let It Be Known. And look, I think that, well, let me say what Power 96, he's agreeing totally with what Joy is saying. He says that every time a conservative makes a clueless comment about DEI, a new voter is created and he or she is voting for Harris. That seems to be true. We keep hearing that as well. This DEI stuff, though, it just really, it's the most ridiculous thing that has been going on. One of the most ridiculous things that's been going on in this just insane political world that this country has devolved into, this political violence and things of that nature. But the DE and I stuff is just another term, another racist term. They've turned it into another racist term, and that there you go. Mike V is typing exactly what I am articulating. It's just the new N word, and that is the bottom line. That's the bottom line. Today, we're going to talk about the hotel costs for the January 20th inauguration. All of a sudden has skyrocketed with most hotels in Washington, D.C. sold out. So if you haven't booked a room for the January 20th and in and around that date, um, you will find yourself in either Virginia or Maryland, certainly well away from uh, Capitol Hill and the White House. And some are suggesting on social media that this, and I hadn't checked beforehand, so I cannot confirm this, but um, that this happened all of a sudden because the vice president became the presidential candidate, and after what we saw, the display of uh, 40,000 black women and 54,000 black men in back-to-back Zoom calls, raise all this money and pronounce their support for the vice president. Uh, the costs seem to have skyrocketed. For instance, the hotel, like for instance, like the Fairfield Inn is running at $1,300 a night. Marriott Marquis in Washington, something like 1,800 a night. The St. Regis, which is down the street from the White House, if you can get a room there, it's going to cost you about 3 grand a night. And there's this other hotel I was never even heard of it, 6,000 a night. The Ritz Carlton, 2,000 a night. Um, and we're talking not just the 19th to the 20th or the 20th to the 21st, but they have blocked out that week before and the week of to ensure that they cash in on folks coming down to the inauguration. Um, I mean, we see that boost whenever DC has a major event, and certainly when there is a when look at those prices. Look at that. Those prices when they have an inauguration. These prices, these are not like double the price. I mean, you got hotels, like I said, like the Fairfield Inn that usually costs you about 220 a night. They're looking upwards of 13, 14, 1,500 a night right now. I mean, the Capitol Hilton, which you can sometimes get the presidential suite for as little as $500 a night. Now they want 4 or 5,000 a night for a regular single room. Eh, I've stayed in the presidential suite at the Capitol Hilton, so that's why I know that you can get it $400 a night on certain days. Um, one of my favorite hotels in Washington, perhaps my favorite hotel in Washington, not one of, but the favorite, the Hay Adams. You can't get a room there, and which is a shame. That's where I was hoping to stay for the inauguration, unless something quietly opens up. Hopefully, they'll let me know. But their rates generally, you can get a nice suite, a nice room at the Hay Adams, 399, 499 sometimes a night. But they're looking, at putting a one in front of those threes and fours there. So, but they also completely sold out for the inauguration. So, that is the state of things in DC. So if you haven't, and similar, we talk about other events. So coming up very quickly in September is the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's legislative conference, and of course, at the same time, the National Newspaper Publishers Association Leadership Awards. All of those hotels, very, very expensive at the moment. You better look at one of these bookings.com or a Priceline or whatever and see what you can do. And the thing about that is you have to pay up front with these things. So you gotta grab them while you can. Joni King says, "Doggone now." Well, how much are Airbnbs? That's a good question. I'm not a fan of Airbnbs. Um, I'm not into the Airbnb crowd, and that other thing that they do, but so I don't really keep tabs on Airbnbs. I know as a journalist, you got to keep tabs on these things to report to other people who might care about them, like Joni. um, but I just like my hotel. I like to have my, my snack bar, the incidental stuff, and then they come in and give me fresh towels and clean the room and all that stuff. Stuff like that. And if I got a problem, the biggest thing I with hotels. So if I'm staying at a Hilton, if I'm staying at a Marriott, and there's a problem, I know exactly who to complain to, how to complain, and that it will be taken care of. I don't have that confidence in this private stuff with Airbnb. I mean, that's people's thing. Can't hate on them for it, but that's my position on it. Mike V says, I'd rather watch the inauguration via the Black Press with Stacey Austin and Lauren Victoria Burke. Wow, we got an Austin Cooper fan and a Lauren Victoria Burke fan in Mike V. And we'd rather be the ones who bring it to you, Mike. Michelle says, if there's anyone that needs a room, you can stay in my living room for free. We can take the Mark train to DC. Look at Michelle being hospitable, opening the doors. Joni King says, travel advisors are selling packages, and that is true. I saw some groups, by the way, Black women groups, put together some sort of, it's a tour and inauguration package with a hotel. I don't know. I saw a price of $1,500, and I'm not sure if that meant that included the hotel stay. How many nights? I think it was one night or two nights. I'm not sure. But if you look at Eventbrite, you'll probably be able to find it. Just type in inauguration. I just happened to come across it. I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder. I mean, they might have booked their hotel rooms like months and months and months ago, and probably got some pretty good rates. And maybe they have already have or anticipate having a huge group, in which case perhaps they got a discount of some sort. Power 96 says, don't forget about Barrington, Mike. And who says Motel 6 will leave I will not stay at a Motel 6. Now they will come and sponsor the show, and we'll be like, let it be known, sponsored by Motel 6, and we all leaving those lights on for you. Greer would be like, you're staying at a Motel 6. I don't care what you say, you're staying at a Motel 6. She would have me at a Motel 6, and it would not be pretty. The whole time. You see, she wouldn't put me in a Motel 6, even if Motel 6 was paying for it and sponsoring the show. I'll tell you why. Because then she would have to deal with my pouting all the time, and she doesn't want to deal with that. She can't stand dealing with my pouting. So that's just not happening, Mike V. It's not happening. She just doesn't want to have to deal with that. We got to talk this morning too, about the fact why Nikki Haley isn't happy. And I know already someone's saying, well, why do we care if Nikki Haley's happy or not? But we're going to talk about that. It has everything to do with Kamala Harris, and what now is her former supporters, what Nikki Haley's former supporters, what they're doing. Georgia has eliminated AP African American courses following a trend in conservative states. And there's a report that has revealed that puberty's role in intensifying racial bias against Black children. We'll talk about that report a little bit this morning as well. Um, Greer reminds us, though, when we talk about inaugurations, he says it was so cold during Obama's first inauguration. They always said it would be a cold day in hell when a Black man became president. And so the weather proved to be true. Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one. Power 96 says, with his budget, TV and the barbecue grill smoking will be great. This guy and his barbecue grill, after he goes into the swamp, grab some things and get the crawfish ready. But I never, Power 96, I never see the beer. You talk about the drinks. I never see the beer. What kind of beer are we talking with to go with the crawfish and stuff? That's what I want to know. You got to let us know. What kind of beer are we talking here? Yeah, hard white. Yes, I don't know what's going on this morning, but I need to know what kind of beer we're talking about because you keep talking about a small budget. So are we talking like Schlitz malt liquor or something like that? Are we talking Budweiser? Are we talking, some Corona? Coors Light. Tap the Rockies, huh? Tap the Rockies. Coors Light. Come on. Can I get a Corona? I need a Corona. If I'm coming to New Orleans Power 96, I need a Corona or maybe a Stella. How about a Stella? You got a Stella? That's that. Come on. You can up the game just a little bit. Let's be real here. And for all those wondering, and we certainly have discussed this on the program, where former President Barack Obama is when it comes to endorsing Vice President Harris. Well, reports now say this morning that the popular former POTUS is indeed planning to endorse the vice president as early as this weekend. A report posted on NBC News at about 6 this morning says that Obama privately has fully supported the vice president's candidacy and plans to endorse her soon. According to folks supposedly on the inside, there's a quote that says he has been in regular contact with her and thinks she's been off to a great start. Obama is one of the only high profile Democrats in the country who has yet to endorse the vice president, at least publicly anyway. Um, and he has sort of stayed in the background. But according to NBC News, people familiar with the discussions didn't know the precise timing of his endorsement. Some do expect it to be as soon as this weekend. One of them said that Obama didn't want to overshadow President Biden's moment, particularly his Oval Office address to the nation uh, last night. Um, which we will also talk a little bit about this morning as well. They say that he has plans, has communicated with the vice president that he's going to join her. They're going to appear together on the campaign trail, although no date has been established as to when that might happen. But word is now coming out that uh, what have you done for me lately? Johnny come lately, whatever. Mr. Obama is indeed endorsing or plans to publicly endorse the vice president. So we will see. Also this morning, Vanessa Williams. Y'all remember, but I know Power 96 had every single magazine, every single Jet, Ebony, and then that other stuff that came out on Vanessa Williams 40 years ago. She's addressing the scandal that led her to losing her Miss America crown, and she talks to People magazine about one of the silver linings back in 1984 was that there was no internet to break. She's and it's good to have some humor about your humiliation, um, which there was even back in 1984. We, and it's certainly in the Black community, talked about the setup. Um, no one felt in our community, and not to say that I speak for the entire community, but people I knew, back in 1984, was not ashamed of Vanessa Williams. I mean, we saw the headlines, the New York Post, Vanessa the undresser. We saw all of that stuff. Um, and of course, if you recall, um, among the photos that were leaked to Penthouse magazine was her, with her and another woman. And in 1984, it was extremely, extremely dangerous for someone. And she was not, gay, but it was extremely dangerous for someone, certainly someone like a Vanessa Williams, to be seen or come out as being gay. And that was a big deal, and mainstream knew that, and they really really played it up. But she says today that I'm still here and I'm still standing. I'm still feeling strong. Vanessa is now 61 years young. She won that title, shocked the world, becoming the first Black Miss America. Nowadays, she's continued her singing career and her acting career, and she's the Ugly Betty of all things, right? And Desperate Housewives alum. She is now stepping into the fictional stilettos of yet another high-powered woman, reimagining Meryl Streep's steely fashion magazine mogul Miranda Priestley in London's upcoming musical adaptation of the hit 2006 film, The Devil Wears Prada. She says to create a role in a new musical has been one of my dreams. She's also gearing up to release Survivor, her first album in 15 years, while working on a documentary about her life, as well as a new reality show. So Vanessa has stayed extremely busy and is very busy. She says, I'm doing what I love. She says, there's a level of achievement and bliss that 40 years ago might not have seemed attainable. She stepped onto the world stage, as we said, as the first Black woman crowned Miss America at the 1984 competition. As she was celebrated by many for being a role model and making history, she also had to smile and wave in the face of racist vitriol being spewed behind the scenes. So she went through all of that. Then 10 months, of course, into her historic reign, it all shockingly came crashing down. It was July 13th, to be exact, 1984. She learned that nude photos she had taken years before and under the promise of anonymity had been sold and would soon be published in Penthouse magazine. And it instantly tarnished her image. She had to give up the crown. And she says there was a tremendous amount of pressure, shame, and judgment as she thought back on that scandal that it didn't just dominate local news or national news. And with George Burns on the cover, and there was two covers. It was, oh God, she's nude, and oh God, she's done it again. Um, you remember George Burns played God in the movie Oh God and Oh God 2, 3, and whatever 4, how many they made. Um, but she says, she says I took all that on as a 21-year-old. It was global. She says you can fail quietly, but that was a worldwide fail. But she's recovered. She's recovered nicely, beautifully. And she says she has a new perspective on what happened way back then. She says she was still in her teens when she posed for the photos. In 1982, actually, she posed for those photos. She was working as a receptionist for a photographer at a New York modeling agency. The photos were then sent to Penthouse after, of course, she had won the title, the photographer or someone that got access to those photos. She was exposed. The pictures exposed her, um, and both her and um, other female model, they were promised that only their silhouettes would appear in photos that this photographer had taken. And so they were totally betrayed by the photographer. She says, I look back at my 19 to 20-year-old self and think, oh my God, you were so naive, so trusting, so vulnerable. In your mind, you think I'm old. I know what I'm doing. I give myself grace now, she says. But as a young adult, I beat myself up like I should have known better. You know, she's a mother of 4, and she says she recently considered that experience through the lens of her kids. She says they're all older than I was now, but the fact that I became famous at 20 years old relative to their lives and having death threats and having to go through breaking a huge hurdle and what the repercussions of that was. He says they're like, wow, how did you handle all this at 20? She says, then I look back at my 20-year-old self and say, my God, I was a baby. And here's the thing. So years later, in 2015, to be exact, 31 years later, the Miss America pageant finally publicly apologized to Vanessa for their part in pushing for her resignation during that scandal. She says, with all that she's accomplished personally and professionally over the years, she's not the least bit bitter. She says, on the contrary, I'm really happy. And good for Vanessa Williams. And so the comments come in uh, as expected. Sh yeah, Power 96 says how times have changed. He says that Trump's third wife is a mail-order bride and a softcore porn star. She made it to being the first lady. Michelle Madison says Vanessa Williams is the greatest, in my opinion, Miss America. Johnny King says Vanessa Williams was and is my shero. And Mike V says, interesting, is not seen as extortion for using her photos in that capacity against her. It just wasn't going to be seen that way. Um, the mission, and as the Miss America pageant finally apologized, the mission was to do just that. It was to destroy her, and good for her. It did not destroy her. That mantra, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Vanessa Williams is living proof of that. There's no question about it. Big fan of Vanessa Williams. And the reason why I say I'm a big fan of Vanessa Williams is because of the resiliency that she's displayed, and being able to overcome something at such a young age. And there's no other history of her posing nude or doing anything like that. And in an era where our hip hop artists, in an era where our so-called influencers, were wearing no clothes, or showing everything you got, is in vogue. Vanessa Williams, after that scandal, and again, that was really, she was set up badly because she was young. But you never saw, as beautiful as a woman as she is, you never saw her uh have that type of hey, look at me type, I got no clothes on type, you know. Um, so hey, everybody, I'm not trying to cast aspersions on anyone. They do, yeah, do what works for you. Not here to judge, but I'm just saying, you can be successful. You can be successful the way Vanessa was successful. That's for sure. And the difference too. So while her new, and I think somebody's mentioning this, the Power 96 says in the 21st century, of Kim Kardashian's mother sold her daughter sex tape. Yeah. So um, you can be successful without all of that. And she did not use that tape. That tape did not make her, those photos, I should say, did not make her successful, did not make her career, did not supercharge her career. And that's what I'm trying to say, David Youngblood. She was never tawdry. Now, you mentioned Kim Kardashian, and it was the tape with her and Ray J that made her a household name, that made her um, what she has become. Now, credit to Kim Kardashian, as much as I don't pay attention, don't like. I'm not a fan. Let me not say don't like. I'm not a fan of anything Kardashian. But you have to also, and being fair, is to give her credit for building her brand to the point where she is sought out by uh, all types of agencies. She's sought out by the White House, no matter who's in the White House. We saw Trump seek her out. We saw uh, the previous administration seek her out. Um, she has become a more than just a tape with Ray J. So good for her in that sense. Now, her mother, on the other hand, listen, and those others have Kim to thank for their millions. That's no question about it. None of them got any talent, if you ask me. Not, as they say, never one of them got talent. That's my opinion. That's for sure. Oh my gosh. But again, congratulations to Vanessa Williams. What a what a story. And so they're doing a documentary. Certainly one to watch, in my view. The life of Vanessa Williams, the first Black Miss America. So, former South Carolina governor and former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, has sent a cease and desist letter to a PAC representing disillusioned voters who voted for her in the primary but are now supporting Vice President Kamala Harris. But the quote, Haley voters for Harris remain undeterred. Nikki Haley made headlines during her presidential primary for a stronger than expected challenge to former President Trump, winning several contests and continuing to rack up votes for months, even after she suspended her campaign. Well, she did eventually endorse Trump shortly before he became a convicted felon and spoke at the Republican National Convention to urge her voters to fall in line. Originally calling themselves Haley Voters for Biden, the PAC, officially titled Pivot PAC, has since rebranded as Haley Voters for Harris. And that was after President Biden announced that he was not going to seek reelection. Well, the PAC has zero interest in climbing aboard the MAGA bandwagon, they said, and they've apparently caused enough of a stir that Nikki Haley had her lawyer send that cease and desist letter threatening to file a complaint with the Federal Election Commission to request, quote, the maximum sanctions if the PAC used any name that included Nikki or Haley. I knew a girl named Nikki. I had to say that because the way she spells her name is the same way Prince spelled it. The letter emphasized that Haley has been clear in her support of Harris's opponent, not using Trump's name for some reason, and argued that any intimidation that Ambassador Haley supports Harris is intentionally false and misleading, and if made in connection with the solicitation, fraudulent. But the Haley voters for Harris, they are continuing on with that. They say, listen, we were Haley voters, now we are Harris voters, and so there is no falsehood in our statement. They say that we do not claim to represent Haley or her views. They said that there are, quote, many other like-minded Haley voters who also do not plan to support former President Trump in November. Our right to engage with voters and encourage them to vote for Vice President Harris, who in our view is the clear better choice for the country, will not be suppressed. The PAC has raised about $400,000 in the past year, mostly from other anti-Trump groups. So we're not talking a whole lot of money, but we're talking about some, I guess, just as consequential of votes for the vice president. Power 96 says the PAC should use Nikki's real name. She doesn't use it. And David says they have every right to use that name. They were former supporters and now they support Kamala. Seems to me they can use it. And that's their argument, of course. So we will see another bit of a wrinkle into this already crazy presidential campaign. And with that in mind, African American history, it continues to be buried and or attempts to bury it. But what is unmistakable is that African American history is American history. There's no American history without African American history. But there, once again, conservative Republicans are seeking to curry favor with Donald Trump. And in a controversial decision, the state of Georgia has refused state funding for the newly introduced advanced placement African American Studies course, forcing some school districts to abandon plans to offer the course to high school students. Of course, advocates are outraged, claiming that Georgia's elected school superintendent's decision echoes similar actions taken in Florida, Arkansas, and other states that aim to suppress Black education, Black history education. In a statement, one group said the fact that African American Studies was removed from our school is alarming and an injustice to our students who eagerly anticipated taking the course. State Rep Jasmine Clark said the erasure of Black history from our schools is not and never will be okay. We know this follows a very, very long line of this banning books by and about Black history and Black figures. And now these AP African American study courses, they want to ban that as well everywhere. Mike V says, yep, Project 2025 in full effect in Georgia. And again, that's what folks need to be educated about. Project 2025. This is all a part of that. Um, civil rights figures, both historical, I should say, and contemporary, have been erased from the curriculum, and all in the name of protecting children's innocence. So it's not getting better. Even Florida, like for instance, just to give an example, the Disney movie Ruby Bridges was banned in Florida, and South Carolina has removed like Ta-Nehisi Coates's memoir Between the World and Me from an AP language class because of so-called complaints. Um, just incredible stuff. But again, Project 2025 in full effect. Full effect. Um, Power 96 says the same people who took away the chorus will tweet out MLK Jr. quotes and praise Black History Month. Hypocrisy at its finest. Well, and that's the way it goes. We know, but it continues. It continues, and we've talked about Project 2025 a great deal recently, and we know that many are educating themselves on Project 2025. And again, we had a conversation with Steve Benjamin last week, the director of the Office of Public Engagement at the White House, the former mayor of Charleston, and of course, the guy that I grew up across the bridge from in South Jamaica, Queens, Stephen Benjamin. He said, and we quote, "Project 2025 scares the heck out of me." And so, interesting stuff, and this is all about what they have been doing. This is about the fearless fund, not allowing a group of Black women to go in their own pockets and support Black women small businesses. This is about the Supreme Court. This is all Project 2025, taking away affirmative action in college admissions. This is about the Supreme Court taking away Roe v. Wade. This is about the Supreme Court saying that the president can effectively order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival. Yes, Steve was mayor of Columbia, South Carolina. Did I say Charleston? I probably did say Charleston. Um, but this is all Project 2025, and so we try to give you the information, the news that you can use, and this is all a part of it. This is all a part of it. Here's something else that I found to be interesting too. A new report that was published in Psychology Today has revealed how puberty exacerbates racial bias against Black children, with the study's author highlighting the need for immediate educational and societal reforms. It was penned by Dr. Rona Carter, who is an associate professor at the University of Michigan. And Dr. Carter explained that Black children are often perceived as older and less innocent than their white peers. And she says that that leads to an increased amount of stress, anxiety, and identity struggles for Black children. The psychological toll of being perceived as older and less innocent than they are can be profound, Dr. Carter said. Pressure to conform to adult expectations can lead to these struggles that include anxiety and depression and stress. Um, uh, she says the education reforms that are needed is developing a curriculum that reflects Black communities' diverse histories and experience, and promoting a more inclusive and equitable school culture. And then we just talked about the erasure of Black history, the AP African American Studies course being eliminated. Dr. Carter says adultification is a pervasive issue deeply rooted in societal biases and stereotypes. It manifests in various ways from harsher disciplinary actions in schools, and we know that, and we're going to use that disproportionate word again. We know that African American students are disproportionately suspended and expelled compared to their white peers. We've done numerous reports on that. There are an exorbitant amount of studies to show that and reports to show that. Um, and so, this, what Dr. Carter mentions, the disciplinary actions are a problem. And of course, it also leads to more severe judgments in the criminal justice system. We brought you a story yesterday, and we've been reaching out to Christopher Dunn's attorneys at the Innocence Project in Missouri. Hopefully, we will get some sort of response soon. But we talked to you yesterday about this man spending all of his adult life from the age of 18. He is 53 years old now, still in prison, was exonerated, but yet the attorney general apparently called the prison and said, "Do not release this man." Now, this same attorney general's office in Missouri did the same thing a couple of years ago to a woman who was exonerated and told them not to release her. Um, the Department of Justice stepped in and had her released and sanctioned the attorney general. And they are doing it again. This man has been found to be the prosecutor of the case said he's innocent. The judge has said he's innocent. And what they did in 2022 to get that, and I can't remember her name, get her released. Um, the Department of Justice got the judge to issue a contempt order against the attorney general. And the attorneys for Christopher Dunn say that that just might have to be the option this time. His family has said that they have planned this huge welcome home party, but they are putting off any plans to celebrate. They want to schedule, I should say, this huge welcome home party, but they're putting off any plans to celebrate until he's actually free. And they are holding him. He's essentially hostage in prison right now, because you have a judge and a prosecutor saying that this man is innocent. And he has spent all of these years, nearly 40 years, in prison for a crime he did not commit. And exactly, David charged the attorney general with the crime. Again, what they did a couple of years ago was the judge finally had had enough and said that he orders the release of this individual. And if the attorney general does not have this person released within a day, he will be brought in and held in contempt. He will go to jail. Um, Mike V says, sounds like Cook County prosecutor Anita Alvarez torturing black folks in Chicago. Um, he also said, I think black children should spend a summer in one African country until graduation to balance their mental health. It could be an option for some, right? But the findings on this study revealed that when black girls present counter narratives of the stereotypical images of being loud, troublemakers, or unintelligent, gendered racial microaggressions used to silence or marginalize black girls were used to respond to this contradiction. For example, black girls either feel invisible in the classroom when teachers do not remember their names or peers talk over them during class discussions. In contrast, black girls become hypervisible to teachers for negative behavior, which also results in body policing. The invisibility and hypervisibility of black girls contribute, according to this report, contributes to their experience of being over disciplined and unprotected within the school system. And historically, Dr. Carter says Black children have been perceived and treated as less innocent and more adult like than their white counterparts, a bias that is amplified with the onset of puberty. And puberty, Dr. Carter says, takes place generally between the ages of 8 and 13. And of course, it's a significant physical and emotional change for these young women, young girls, I should say. And as a matter of fact, Black children often enter puberty earlier than children of other races. So it's the challenges. So this is really the root of the challenges, right? That Black girls face in this country. And so this study, you can read about it more at Psychology Today and Dr. Carter, University of Michigan. You can go to her University of Michigan page as well, because this is really I found it to be really interesting. And so the impact of puberty on racial bias against Black children is real. It's real. Folks. So we again appreciate you guys joining us this morning. Appreciate you joining us every morning, 7:30, before you have that cup of coffee, or while you're having that cup of coffee, while you're preparing to go out to work. But part of your job, folks, is to hit our subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the YouTube subscribe button, LIBK dash news, and let's not have a failure of a day where somebody's like falling down the steps of a airline thing, or their glasses are coming off their face or something. Let's have a great day, and we will be back at it again tomorrow. Thanks for joining. Let it be known.